Good morning, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to hop onto our webinar on demand this time. So we are sending out this new release of MLX or Estima, and this is version 4.14.0. And we thought we'd just do this a little bit different this time, since we know a lot of you are crazy busy out there, and rather than having to fit into a schedule to jump onto our webinar, though we won't be able to have any interaction this way, but we'll do it this way this time and provide you just a video straight out here. So hopefully you can just take a few minutes. This won't be a long video, but you can take a few minutes and just be aware of what's happening in this latest version. And so hopefully you can leverage some of these new features into your workflow, even though things are pretty busy out there for you, we know. So I'll just go from here and start and head into some of these new features and new changes that are available. Starting here on the general tab over here in this section, we have the project notes field. We've added this so you can make notes that are specific to the project. Some of these in the future may, some of the exports that get sent out on the reports tab or point of sale exports may contain some of these project notes as well. But for now, for the most part, these are going to just stay here in the project notes area, but just be aware that in the future, some of these things may actually get exported on the final product that gets sent out the door. Different from that would be the instructions section, which of course is still available down here, where nothing that's in this instruction section would ever be printed. So take advantage of the project notes field if that's something that is useful to you to keep track of different dimensions of the project. We're going to come over here to the quick check tab, a couple changes there that we've made available. First of all, on the left-hand side in the general information section, if I hit the refresh button here, you can see that we have a roof decking section, which is not new. We've had that before, but now we have organized it according to product type, as well as then sorted it underneath that by the different pitches, and then provided a total pitch for all of that particular product type. So before it was just sort of rolled together on different lines and so on, but now you have a little bit clearer visibility into the total square footage for a particular material type, as well as the individual pitches that are involved. On the other side of the quick check tab, in the potential errors section, we've introduced a new rule, which I think will actually be very helpful to many of you out there, and would really encourage you to take a time to implement this into your quick check process. And just a quick side note, if you're not using quick check, really encourage you to be doing that. Even if you're only using just a handful of the checking capabilities, it's just a great way to heighten the accuracy of your takeoffs with really very little extra effort on your part. But here in the potential errors section, we can come to the settings. And of course, you can always check and uncheck rules that have already been created, delete them, get rid of ones that you don't want, which is, of course, how we would encourage you to use it. Only use the stuff that actually is relevant to you. Up here in the rule creator, though, we've added a new type of rule. So I'm going to come here to the rule creator, hit the drop-down menu. I'm going to go to the specific pack, every individual pack. And then here's where this new rule is in this drop-down list. Right here at the bottom where it says material does not exceed the maximum stocking length. Now, if you've been here before, you may have recognized that we've had this previously. Material from a specific category does not exceed a certain stocking length. But now we're allowing you to dial that in further and basically say anytime that material that you're calling exceeds whatever the stocking length that's been set for it, that you would be warned about that. So click next, and of course we could set whatever level error we want that to be, and we'll create that rule. Click done. So now we can see here we've got, so here's some 2x10s that have been called in this project, and they're exceeding the stocking length that's appropriate for it. So if I come over here, so that you can see it's in the alternate building list in the roof, I'm going to come over here to the material list and alternate building. So we can come to the roof. We can see we've got some rafters here, and we've drawn these rafters in. And as we stretch this out, we can see we've got some 27, 28s, 25s, 24 footers. And while the stocking lengths for that particular material that have been set over in the stocking length tab is 8 to 20 by 2. Now, a note for how this rule works is this is actually based on whatever material lengths have been set for it. So for this particular line item, so this might be coming from the profile, or if I was to make an adjustment here with the little wrench icon and say, well, my material lengths for this are 8 by 2, click OK. Now we can see that this are the stocking lengths that are available for this specific line item since I made an override. So if I was to check the quick check now, notice that that rule is no longer being violated. So you're able to, from the quick check tab, identify very quickly whether or not something is outside of the range of the stocking lengths that you would actually send out from your yard. So keep that in mind, and we again encourage you to get that set up into your stocking list. And of course, you could also change that setting so that instead of it just being based on or just being an error message, it could also be something that, for example, right here, we can edit this. Instead of it just being an error, we could actually have it be a violation. That way it actually doesn't even let you produce the report so that you don't accidentally send something out that you shouldn't. Bouncing over here to the plan tab, one small change we made based on some user feedback. So if we draw a line of some sort and we use the application LSF, any type of LSF application, so it's a linear square foot. And so you'll recall that that's where you're able to draw lines, and so therefore you're collecting the linear footage, but then you can apply a height to that line. So basically it's kind of like that square footage is coming up out of the page at you, and you can find what the total square footage might be for a wall that you're looking down on top of, or so on. Previously, this was limited to only 240 inches. We've expanded that to up to 720 inches, or about 60 feet. So you have lots of flexibility now as far as in what heights that you can actually specify for those particular lines and have them then calculated for you over in the material list. Jumping over back to the reports tab, you may be familiar with, I'm going to click on the edit button for one of these reports, this feature right here that you can build into your reports if it's something that's useful to you, the input value notations. So this is turned on for this report. Now, this feature isn't new, this has been here, but we've expanded this to include a few other things. I'm going to click the view button, bypass those errors for the moment. And actually, let's come over here and I'm going to go to the house building. Be easier to see. I'll click the view button. And you can see here we've got these input value notations are these items in italics below certain types of applications. So for example, the floor decking. The above product references 800 square feet of raw footage, or I can come further down to here's the roof decking, as well as lap siding, as well as shingle siding. And so we have those. So this makes it easier at a later date if you're giving this to a customer who maybe was going to want to change products at a later time, and it's useful to them to have that piece of information of what the raw square footage is, then you can provide that if you like. The latest change that we've made in this latest release is that roof decking is now included with this, as well as all the soffit type applications have also been included as well. Bouncing over to the Publish tab, here we've expanded some of the notations that you can reference when you're building your file name. So you may be aware, you may know that as you set up your Publish tab, you can specify with brackets that you want certain values from the general tab to come in and just be part of the file name. So that way you can set up your template file once with this, but it does the right thing for all your future jobs. So for example, if I use tracking right here, when it builds the file name, it's going to look for whatever value is in the tracking field right here, and it's going to fill that in when it builds that file name. We expanded this to include two different things. One is the PO field. So it would look like this if you were referencing it, or the customer would be the other. And that would be, both of those would be references here to the general tab. So the PO number field, as well as the customer number field. So you can reference those on the publish tab. Finally, we've made some changes to the framing layouts area. Coming over to the profile tab where you actually can adjust your framing layout styles. So I'm going to come here to the profile, come to general, and down here at the bottom are your framing layout styles, which you can create or you can edit. I'm going to come to my 11 by 17. So we've made a couple changes. One is that you can show the wide format material list is right here in that checkbox. And then you can also choose to not show or show different title headers and things for notes. So if you want your notes to be very plain on your framing layouts that you create, you can actually have them without all the titles and the headers on them now. So I'll check all those boxes. I'll leave the wide format on. And I'm going to come take a look over here in the framing layouts. And let's view this framing layout right here. Let's continue with those errors. So now you can see down here, we have this note, and you can see we don't have any of the headers anymore, no titles for the sections, nothing like that. So if you're looking for a note that just kind of looks like a box, just a plain old ordinary box, then you can achieve that by unchecking some of those settings over there in the framing layout styles. And then over here on the upper right, you can see we've got the product column for the framing layout. And this line right here, 1/3 by 11/7/8 microline LVL watershed 2.0e. In previous versions, or in the same version, if you don't have the wide format on, this will wrap to a second line. And if you have a pretty long material list, that can start to take up quite a bit of space. So if you're looking for, or if you're specifying materials that have pretty long names and you're finding that they wrap to multiple lines, then you can use the wide format. And when you choose the wide format, the product column, as well as the quantity and the tag field, all three of those get wider. So the product is probably the most common use for this wide format. But if you're finding that maybe you have a large quantity that needs to get larger and you need to have more space to visually see it, or if your tag names are starting to get long and you're using a lot of long prefixes and you need extra space there for that to show, then again, that also might be a helpful reason for you to use the wide format. Again, just so you know where that is, that's over in the profile tab, general tab over here, and then the layout styles. And so if you choose to edit, then down here would be the show wide format. And then here are these options that you can uncheck for the notes if you're interested in those. And that's the quick summary of the things that are available in this latest release. So that's 4.14.0. So I encourage you to get up to the latest on all those improvements, as well as any bug fixes and improvements that we've made in the background as well. So thanks for taking the time to watch the video today. And if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call. Thanks so much. Talk to you later.